Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Rise to the Occasion podcast. I'm Jack Beers. Wherever you may be in your journey, I'm glad that I get to be here with you, that you are here on this earth, and that today you get to be with Dr. Bryan Violette. Good to see you, Dr. Bryan.
Great to be here. Nice to be with
Uh,
you.
for those of you who are wondering, Dr. Bryan is not a medical doctor. He is a doctor of psychology. So if you're going to eventually ask questions, please leave your medical questions to yourself. Like I like to share in these interview versions of Rise to the Occasion, in many ways, this is the interviews are selfish for me because I get to bring on people that I love having conversations with on what I think to be really important topics in helping me to try and become a good husband and a good father, a good provider, a good son of God. So one of the conversations that I really want to have is how we understand what a good man is and who a good man is and what it means to be a good man, and what shapes us in our understanding and our conception of what good men are. If I'm going to try to be a good man, I should actually take a look at my own understanding or my own definition even of what I consider to be a good man. And one of the things that has impacted me in pursuit of trying to become a good man and even defining what a good man is movies. I am a big movie fan. I love watching movies, and they have impacted me in significant ways. And the person I know who likes movies as much as I do, and who likes talking about movies as much as I do, and who always like challenges me and has insights is Dr. Bryan. So it's like, who can I have this conversation with? Dr. Bryan. And then I was like, hey, Dr. Bryan, do you want to have this conversation with me? And what did you say?
That's the only conversation I want to have with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm very grateful that you chose this as a topic to discuss with me
yeah.
because I know that you chose some more difficult topics for other guests, like my wife, for
Like your
example.
wife. Yes. Yeah.
I'm really glad I didn't have to review Harry Stack Sullivan's developmental stages of interpersonal theory, and I get to just hang out and talk about movies.
Yeah. Well, so I'm just going to set the frame for the conversation. Well, really, so that the audience fully knows what you and I have come into the conversation with. I wanted us to pick. I wanted each of us to pick four movie figures that we have watched that have essentially shaped us as men, or impacted us, or that we aspire to be. Was that the exact prompt? I'm now forgetting the exact prompt. Um,
Yeah.
how did you understand the prompt?
Yeah, just archetypes for masculinity, men that inspire us, men that we aspire to be, male characters.
Yes. So we each have picked four, and we decided to reveal the four to each other so that we could make sure we've seen the films. So we each had to watch a film in order to be fully prepared for where the other was at, and so we're gonna go back and forth on sharing the character we picked and why we picked them, and sort of break it down and discuss why that male archetype has impacted us and what we can learn from that particular male archetype. Some of them are are things you learn what not to do and what to do. But one of the things that I said in the pre-part of this show that you apparently may disagree with is I think that art and images of masculinity in art help shape our understanding of what it means to be a man. Was that the part that you had beef with, or what part were you like, I'm going to push back on that?
No. I don't push back on that at all. I think
Okay.
I think art can be a projection, like what we experience in terms of our engagement with art can be a projection of our interior experience. I also think it can be aspirational. There can be models. Men can be models for us for who we want to become. I think nowadays, when there aren't many models out there of leadership, and
Yes.
then I think we have but little choice to return to art. So no, the thing I wanted to push back on was some of your character choices.
Oh, yes. Okay.
want to talk about your characters.
Let's
That
go.
I've
Yes.
got some bones to pick with some of your
I,
choices. That's all.
well, I didn't pick them as like, as, the shining characters. You know what's interesting about my choices?
You didn't pick Jesus and the Chosen.
Right. I didn't pick Jesus from The Chosen. I didn't pick Mr. Rogers from like whatever the Neighborhood movie was. Like I didn't
Yes.
do I aspire to be Jesus? Yes. Do I aspire to be like Fred Rogers? Yes. Are they two of my biggest heroes? Yes. Did I put them on the list? Absolutely not, because they're
Right.
in one type of conversation they're really interesting to talk about. In another type of conversation um they're too easy to talk about in some ways.
Yeah.
So great, because you and I, one of the things that you've taught me is that art actually elicits unconscious feelings, thoughts, and beliefs, and even memories that we have. And you have taught me that even when I'm working one-on-one with a client, that if sometimes something is blocked, like use art, use a movie, use a song, ask the person to draw. So before we dive into them, I wanted to just give you space, since you're the one who mentored me on this topic. Like, what is it about art that can reveal the unconscious?
Yeah, in some ways, I don't think we necessarily understand what the mechanism is. We just know that art, I mean, a lot of psychology is theory, right? It's conceptual theory. It's a ways we try and we come up with constructs to understand the human mind, which is far beyond our comprehension. It's like when we try to understand God, like in our finite mind, we're trying to understand the infinite. The human psyche is extremely complex. But we do know that art has a way of getting beneath our conscious thought and just getting down into our unconscious and pulling it out and dragging it out. And this is the basis for things like projective testing. So you may have heard of the Rorschach test,
which is ink blots.
The ink blots, yep. It's actually a famous character too in a Watchmen film by the name of Rorschach. Did you ever see Watchmen?
No.
Okay, he's a great character. Not that I'm recommending that. It's not the most moral of content. But anyway, the Rorschach is the ink blot test. And when people look at those ink blots, they see all sorts of different things. And you know what those ink blots actually are, right?
Ink blots.
They're just ink blots, right? So the unconscious gets projected onto this sort of like neutral stimuli. And what people see is it's really a reflection of what's going on interiorly, because those are what they see is normed against what other people see. And then you're able to sort of understand how like the psychological functioning shows up in its projection onto art. And that's neutral stimuli. And that's like the easiest way to do it. So it draws from the conscious of projection. That's why they're called projective testing. The same would be true of drawing. So I could ask you to draw a house tree person drawing, and I could tell you about yourself based on what you draw, no matter how good of an artist you are. Or there's a test called a thematic apperception test, the TAT, and I'll show you an image and I'll invite you to tell me a story about it, what happened before, after, what's happening during the picture, tell me about the characters, and it'll tell me about what's going on in your unconscious. So that's in a way that's psychometrically like standardized, right? So like the field uses that professionally, but just naturally, I mean, we don't need to go any further than thinking about being in a mood for a song. Why are you in the mood for a song sometimes, not other times? Because that particular song is a counterpoint for what you have going on emotionally. How that works in terms of of consciousness, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, probably has something to do with right brain, left brain, where it's like it pulls on your right hemisphere and sort of the emotive parts of your brain, and like the left sort of executive functioning, like verbal meaning making side of things gets bypassed somehow. But nonetheless, even if we don't understand it, it does occur.
Yeah. No, I think holding space for the mystery of it, while also including some of the science, is meaningful. You know what else is meaningful to me? We both have a Western.
I know. Isn't that interesting? And the characters are not completely dissimilar. I think they end up in the same place in a way.
Yes. Well, in one way they end up in the same place, and in another way they end up on the exact opposite place.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one ends with a badge and the other ends with putting a badge down.
Hmm.
Um, and based on like what it represents and stuff. But I I can't say I'm surprised that we both chose westerns. I think that there is something about westerns, and there's something about uh, guns and justice and outlaws and
Hmm.
law and the
Hmm.
tension between lawmen and mavericks and things like that, and just plain old bad actors, not bad actors as in bad acting in film, but just bad actors who do bad things. I think there's
Yeah.
something about the setting and the place that if you tell me there's a western, I'll watch the trailer
Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
consider watching it. What do you think that's about?
Well, I think it's very American. I think it plays off constructs of masculine ideals in the American mind. It's there's this westward expansion across the United States is very American, freedom, independence, the American dream. You have it comes down to us through the image of like Clint Eastwood. It's
Yes.
that tough male who's it's almost like the Anglo-Saxon stiff upper lip persona. Like I'm which my film plays off this idea about emotions and how to
Yes.
connect it to be with your emotions. And the cowboy is sort of like pure masculine independence from the emotional life. It's like doing the hard thing on my own without help. It's almost like toxic masculinity in a way. But
So little
making
words, so few
yeah,
words said.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
They're like
It's
Terrence Malick films without being Terrence Malick films. Like it's like
that's right.
less than 200 word dialogue, but yet
Yeah.
so much is said and done and so much happens.
Yeah, it plays off competency themes, which are important to men. So who's the
Mm.
fastest draw? Who's the best there is? I mean, that's who doesn't want to be the fastest draw in the West, right?
I always was drawn to like I am in general really drawn to films that explore um, a character who has every reason to do what they want by whatever means necessary and still
Mhm.
adheres to doing the right thing. Like there's no reins, there's no bumpers. Like you
Yep.
really can kind of do what you need to do without any sort of immediate consequence.
Right.
And still choosing to do the right thing. Like I'm really drawn to like that type of context of film.
Right.
Like the purity of doing the right thing.
Without fear of consequences. There's no overarching law. There's no real government. Like each town is its own sort of mini government, and you're in the
Right.
middle of nowhere. All you need to do is ride a couple miles out of town, and then there's no one will ever discover what you're doing.
Right. Or what
Yeah.
you've done. Yes, there's that whole vibe. So let's jump into. I'll go first. I think we'll go back and forth that way. I'll
Sure.
end with you. Um, and I'll stick with the Western theme. So I chose specifically um, Doc Holliday from not from the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp mega film, but uh, Tombstone and the late great Val Kilmer playing Doc Holliday. Um, I love Doc Holliday from that film in particular for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, I'm very interested in why you chose that version of him instead of the Dennis Quaid, who is
Uh,
also very good, but in a different
he's
way.
he's very good in a different way. I think it's because Val Kilmer had my favorite Doc Holliday scenes.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a couple of them. So one is when so Doc Holliday is, I mean, he's a hooligan. I mean, he lives by his own rules. He cheats, he gambles, like he has a woman, but he's not truly necessarily committed to her. Um, it's kind of like a relationship of passion and opportunity. It works for both of them. Like it seems more of like an arrangement that works for both of them than like faithful and committed and a relationship that you would aspire to. He like
Doesn't
lives
he?
by. What's that?
Doesn't he call her? Doesn't he say, "Or you could be Satan"? Doesn't he say something like that to her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. He is just like, I forget exactly what he refers to her as, but it's something along those lines where
He
she's
affirms
just,
her. He's like, "You're the best." Says something to that effect, and then
but
he's like,
you,
or you could be Satan." I don't
yeah, or you could
know.
be like Satan's mistress or something like that,
Yes,
right?
it's
Like he's just,
50-50.
it's, either one, I'm enjoying you. I enjoy you. And
Yeah.
because I enjoy you and because you get to live the life that you live with me, you're happy with me.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's not the greatest guy in the world, but he develops this friendship with Wyatt Earp, who's straight laced, true blue blood, right and wrong, hard man of justice, hard man of the law. And Doc, I'll give you my favorite scenes, and then I'll just totally open it up to you on you inquiring about it. But the first one is Johnny Ringo and this band of kind of it's a gang. It's basically a gang. It's a Western gang, and they live outside the law, and they do whatever they want, and they wear these red bandanas, and they have a primary leader. I forget his name, and then Johnny Ringo is like, he is the man. Like he is the skilled one. He's like the Kevin Durant. Like he's wildly skilled, but he's not the man. Like he's not the leader. He's like KD. And nobody wants to mess with him. He's really, really fast with the gun and really skilled. And he comes in and he basically challenges Doc Holliday. And they have this epic scene where Johnny Ringo takes out his gun and he does this like fancy thing with the gun, trying to taunt Doc Holliday. And Doc Holliday is drunk. He is, by the way, he's sick the whole time. So he's dying of whatever he's dying from. And
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. He's just slowly fading away. He's dying. And Johnny Ringo does the gun thing, and then this is where I learned to handle bullies. Okay, I got this from the great Doc Holliday. So he's like, everyone's like, oh, what's Doc gonna do? Is he gonna try to shoot him? Like, what's he gonna do? And instead of taking out his gun, he has his whiskey glass that has a little handle, and he finishes it, and then he does the same gun thing like a showman and puts it in his pocket. And he also like speaks Latin as like a learned man. Like he speaks Latin before this happens.
Yes.
And it was perfect. He totally diffused the situation with humor. He didn't play into the bully's game, but he also didn't give into the bully. Like he didn't sit down and go like, "Oh, you got me." Like he got out of the situation. He navigated out of it through humor that was like, you think you had me, but you didn't. And I kind of flipped it on top of you and gave us both an out. So that's scene number one I loved.
Yeah.
I also loved and identified because when I saw the movie, I was like, first saw it, I was like 12. So like he's sick the whole time. I was a sick kid. Like there was power. Like he was able to do stuff and be productive and be useful, even though he was sick. So I love that. That's the second thing. And then the third one is Johnny Ringo and his crew kill one of Wyatt Earp's brothers and badly wounds the other one. And Wyatt Earp doesn't have his wife anymore. His wife dies. And so he goes off on this rampage to basically kill every single person who has a red bandana. And it comes down to Johnny Ringo challenging Wyatt Earp to one-on-one duel. And everybody knows Johnny Ringo is going to kill Wyatt Earp. But Wyatt Earp, in his pride and in his sense of justice, is like, I've got to do it anyway. Even if I die, I've got to do it. And Doc Holliday tricks him. He tricks Wyatt Earp into thinking that he was really sick to the point of not being able to get up. And he shows up to face Johnny Ringo. and he keeps calling him his Huckleberry. He's like, I'm here. I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll be your man. And he has the star, like, because of his loyalty, because of his friendship with Wyatt Earp. He essentially adopts Wyatt Earp's philosophy of doing right and wrong. Like, Wyatt Earp kind of rubs off on him in a really good way, and Doc Holliday starts like actually becoming closer and closer to a man of virtue, and he takes care of business, and he
ain't no
beats
Daisy.
You Ain't No Daisy. Come on, Johnny Ringo, and he kills Johnny Ringo. And then his closing scene is he goes, like, Wyatt Earp felt obligated to him, and his closing scene is like, let me die, go live your life. Like, you don't have to take care of me. His last thing was a gift to Wyatt Earp, for Wyatt Earp to actually go live his life. And so for all those reasons, I love Doc Holliday. And I guess if I even think about it myself, and this is the one I'm most passionate about. This is by far the one I'll talk the most about. But one of the reasons why I do love him is that he evolved over time. Like, he went from kind of a scoundrel to a hero, to a man of heroic virtue. And because he like, he didn't abide by silly rules. And I really like men who don't abide by silly rules. Just because a law is a law doesn't mean it's right. And I like that. I like guys who break rules.
A great choice. So many great lines from Doc Holliday. One of the coolest characters in any film. Stole the movie, made the movie.
Yes.
Kurt Russell was great, but I mean, he was pretty vanilla.
Yes.
You know, good guy doing the right thing.
Yes.
My question for you is, why were they friends? Like, what was the level that they connected on, given where they began?
Yeah.
An outlaw and a lawman. And where, like, neither one, where the great line was like, are you my friend? Do you have many friends? And they both sort of said no. Right. So what do you think determined their friendship?
Well, I think that Doc Holliday's humor, that Wyatt Earp felt like Doc Holliday actually brought out the best in him. That, like, his humor and that Doc actually did operate by a code. It was his own code, but like, you could figure it out, you could understand it. And I think Doc had an attraction and a desire to be a good man. There's this great line of Gandhi where I don't know if Gandhi actually said this. It's one of these lines that gets attributed to him, where it's basically like, if I'd met a Christian, I would have become one. Or, I love your Jesus, I don't love your Christians, right?
Yeah.
I think Doc Holliday probably would have said that up to that point in his life. I think he probably would have said something like, I love the idea of being a good man. I just have never met one. And then he really met an honest man, and it was like, there's an attraction to that. Like, he actually could trust him. Wyatt was a man of his word, and he was talented, right? And I think that was the other thing, is that they both really appreciated each other's talent. Like, Wyatt's ability to basically hone a whole town in a particular direction and rally a whole group of people, that he has a plan, and Doc's ability to move in and out of different situations, and his quickness with his gun. He was reliable. And then they proved it to each other, right? Like, they had each other's back multiple times, and there was just a bond there. What do you think?
I'm not. Yeah, I like everything you said. I'm always struck by the loyalty that they had for each other. And it's been a while since I've seen the film, but I think at some point, Earp talks about how you can only trust family. And he had all his brothers, where that was his sort of posse of lawmen that he brought with him wherever he went. And Doc was the only character that wasn't blood.
Yes.
But became blood.
Yes.
And like, there was like that deep loyalty. It's almost like it clicked the moment that they acknowledged that you are my friend.
Yes.
Then it was ride or die at that point. From that point
For
forward.
both of them. For both of them, it
Yes.
was ride or die. There was
Yeah.
one scene early on where they'd acknowledged that they'd known each other from the past, that there
Yeah.
was a man who was coming to kill Wyatt Earp, and Wyatt had his back turned, and and Doc was watching, and he was just like, "Where are you going?" to the
Yeah.
guy with the shotgun,
Yeah.
and everybody turns around, and he's like, Doc,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Wyatt like he acknowledges what just happened, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, I think one of the most fascinating aspects of being a good man is like, and even being a good father, in a certain sense, is playing the jazz of when you break the rules. Like when you follow the rules and when you break the rules, and being able to determine that. Like just a small example, like um, no ice cream before dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's 4 o'clock. You're coming back from the pool. Everybody's had a great day. And dad just goes, you know what we're doing, kids? We're going to stop off and we're going to have ice cream for dinner.
And it's
Right?
such a treat.
Right. And it's such a great treat. You're breaking one of your own rules. And it really is a dad thing to do that type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like what everybody remembers. Dad, do you remember that time we were at the pool and we just went and we had ice cream for dinner and it was this great day, right? Like there's
Yeah. I mean, I think the scene, I mean, you already alluded to that. That's part of the scene of flipping his whiskey cup around, right? The rule was, we posture by showing our gun skills. And he was playing chess while everyone was playing checkers. He was playing jazz because he knew the rules of music.
Yes.
And I love that. And we talk about how that's important in our clinical work too.
Yes.
Right. So like learning what the rules are, the methods of engaging a client and helping them to change. And then, but once we know them, then we can break those rules in case specific scenarios if it's good for the client. If you don't know the rules, then all your efforts are just a cacophony of sound, right? It's like you're not playing jazz. It's just terrible sounding, right?
Yes.
But if you know them and you can break it where appropriate and then come back to the frame in anywhere in life, then it's sweet music.
Yeah. You can
And
even
it can be tough to follow too. Like from the outside watching, like if you don't understand, like a lot of people hear jazz and they're like, this is terrible. But if you understand music, you really see the bending of the rules.
Well, this is a key part of romance. Like a man leading a woman in a relationship is like providing a context of security and reasonable expectations, right? Like he is going to initiate a date, and then he is going to show up and take me on that date, and he's going to listen to me, and he's going to ask questions, and he's going to pay the bill, and he's going to he's going to be consistent, he's going to be present, he's going to be there, all that stuff.
Sure.
And you can start to begin to expect different things. And then once there's a degree of security, spontaneity becomes really powerful in a relationship. Surprises become really, really powerful.
Sure.
And I think that's really important too.
Yeah, it's not the same as being unreliable. And
right.
Everything's a surprise, and it's a constant adventure, which might be attractive in the beginning of a dating relationship, but sooner or later, you want that stability that someone's able to provide. We all settle down. We think about like life in our 20s and 30s and the adventure, the early, well, it depends on the person, but you know what I mean? The younger adventures of life. And then you get to a point where you're like, it'd be nice to sort of wake up in the same place every day and have my cup of coffee and my routine. And
right.
Yeah.
Just like it's really great every once in a while then when you wake up and you have your cup of coffee and in your place that like your spouse surprises you with breakfast in bed or wakes you up and goes like, hurry up. Like we're going to go out to brunch today.
Yeah.
It's really important. I want to tell you one story. Doc Doc Holliday inspired story for me, and
Yeah.
then I want to go to yours. So I was having a challenge. I was having a problem in high school, and I couldn't figure out a certain aspect of the challenge. And the aspect of the challenge that it was struggling for me is that this is just like dumb high school boy stuff. I was like, man, I keep getting pantsed in high school,
Mm.
and an easy solution would have been to wear jeans with a belt. But I was like really anti jeans before I realized that girls dug guys who looked reasonably, like put together. I was like, man, why am I wearing jeans? So it was like,
You're not gonna let society define you and make you wear
right,
jeans,
like I'm not
just
wearing
like Doc
jeans,
Holliday.
right? I'm not gonna wear jeans. Anyway, I
Yeah.
kept getting pantsed. And one day I was in high school. I was in English class, and this one kid in particular was doing it. And I'd been like, hey, stop doing this, whatever, posturing, guy posturing stuff. None
Yeah.
of it was working. And and so I decided that next time he pantsed me, I was going to let him pants me all the way. And so he did it. And I let him pants me all the way to my ankles, and I got as close to him as I possibly could. And I was like, what do you need to see so badly that you keep pulling my pants down? And I remember the teacher being like yelling across the room, Jack, what are you doing? Like, put your pants on, right? And I just like refused to put my pants on until he gave me an answer as to what he needed to find out.
That's awesome.
I've never been pantsed again in my entire life.
Yeah.
And
Standing
I
up
was
to
like,
the bully.
Doc Holliday, man. It was I was like literally thinking up at night, like, what's my version of the cup? Like, what is my version of the cup in response to this?
Yeah, I mean, I never, as you're talking about the reasons why you like Doc Holliday, I knew you were sick when you were young. I didn't even make the connection. I didn't even connect those dots as to why you would like Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting from a providential perspective that something even as like superficial as that,
Yes.
like God would draw you to that character for superficial reasons. And yet, like, it was also a boon for dealing with life socially, and like how to handle life. Like he was like giving you a gift in a way that you didn't even understand.
Yes.
It's so cool.
On multiple levels. All right. Which one do you want to begin with for you?
Well, I think if we're in the Western space, we should probably just wrap that up, right?
Everett.
Yeah, Everett Hitch. Yeah,
Appaloosa.
We were talking right before this, and I had rewatched the film. You watched it for the first time, and we could spend a long time on just this film.
Film. Yeah.
There's so many layers to it. So I'm gonna try and I picked up a lot of new things when I watched it, but I'll take a step back and highlight why I like this character, like why I liked this character even when I recommended it.
Mm.
So the whole film is pointing you toward how competent Virgil Cole is, the character played by Ed Harris.
And who I love, by the way. I almost put his character in Apollo 13. Because I love that character. I love Ed Harris's characters that much that I was like, oh. Yes. Anyway, so he is competent. He is the mark of competence, the standard. He is
absolutely throughout the whole film. And Everett Hitch, played by the great Viggo Mortensen, also known as Aragorn, showing his range, by the way. I had never seen him in anything else until I saw this film, is the sidekick. He's the sidekick character through the whole thing. And what you discover about this character is that he's never the sidekick. He was never really the sidekick, but he was humble enough to play the sidekick. Mm-hmm. I mean, he took all the criticisms, even from Virgil Cole, right? From other people, characters in the town, the villains. He just took it, didn't let it flap him. He was unflapped, and he was a servant to Virgil. Like the character's whole existence during their friendship was designed to amplify Virgil Cole. Yes. He amplified that character. He backed him up with a huge shotgun. He helped him with words that he couldn't remember,
which was constant and brilliant. Brilliant writing.
Yep. He did all of his bidding. He did all the dirty work, like dirty work that would make you would prick the ego of a lot of men. right? It was like, hey, go down and do this. And he's like, okay, sure. And like wasn't affected by it. His ego wasn't affected. And like, I just really admire him. And they end up in the same place at the end, in that you think Virgil Cole's the fastest draw there is. And there's even a scene where Virgil tells Everett Hitch that he explains why he's not as fast as Virgil Cole. And he said, because you have feelings, because you're emotional. And this comes right on the heels of Everett Hitch asking Virgil Cole, like, how do you feel about the whole situation? Like, what's going on? How you doing, like, emotionally? He's basically asking him. And he's like, don't ask me about that. He's like, this is why you're not as good as the rest of us. It's because you have feelings. It's like that Western masculine construct, right?
Right.
And it turns out in the last scene against the big villain, the Johnny Ringo of the film, who's the fastest draw there is, that you're wondering about who's faster the whole time, Virgil Cole or Randall Bragg, and Bragg's the villain. That it turns out that in an effort, in the final effort to completely serve Virgil Cole, because of the woman involved, giving Virgil an opportunity and a chance with a very pathological female lead, and also giving him an opportunity to be the top dog, the ongoing top dog in the town, and remain a lawman by killing Bragg. He calls Bragg out and has a quick draw and kills him. And I remember seeing that for the first time. I was like, wait a minute, he was the fastest draw the entire time? So he was such an integrated man throughout the whole experience in how he related to women. You saw Virgil Cole in his disintegration of how tough he was, how cold-blooded he was. As soon as he had an interaction with a woman, he was like a little boy, right? He like lost all of his confidence and lost all of his insight and perspective. He was so blended. We talk about that theory, internal family systems theory, and the psychological process being blended with the parts of ourselves. And not Everett. Everett was cool as a cucumber the entire time. Wasn't anxious around anyone. Did the dirty work. Just like the humility of him, and then similar to Doc Holliday, the loyalty. Mm-hmm. Such a deep loyalty. And I just thought like his willingness to be in the shadows, but really be the best there is the whole time, was so admirable. It's like I love that line, don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Yes.
It's like, I don't have to show you my strength as long as I feel confident in my own strength. So that's why I admire that character.
It's one of the best definitions of meekness. It's like meek and humble of heart, right? It's like, it's not that I don't have a sword or don't know how to use a sword. It's that I can keep it in it. I can keep it sheathed, and I only have to pull it out when I need to. One of the things that I thought was, well, I was like, I wonder why he picked him. I wonder why he picked him. I wonder why he picked him. And then Ed Harris's character is like, the problem with you is you have feelings. It's like, that's why he picked him.
Yeah.
Because Ed Harris is like, your problem is you're integrated rather than disintegrated. Like, you compartmentalized it. But what knocked me out about that end scene was how Everett saw the whole thing. Like, he saw the whole picture. He saw that if he revealed himself as the best, as the quickest draw,
be a target.
That, well, he realized that he would have put Cole to shame.
All through their 12 years of their friendship, he would have.
He would have, and it would have been like, I'm the top dog now, right. And the girl would have gone for him. Like, Cole would have been ashamed. He would have. He literally loved him so much that he was like, I'm going to gift this situation for you. And I don't know what's next for me. Whatever comes. Whatever comes, like, praise. Whatever comes.
And that was consistent throughout the whole film. I mean, whenever he would just build him up the entire time. He's an amplifier. He said, Mr. Cole's been doing this a long time. After that first conflict, when they come into the bar, he said he built up Virgil Cole. He built up the legend of Virgil Cole constantly. The other thing that struck me for the first time is the bookends, the narration. of the film.
Mm.
And it didn't strike me the first time, but the connection between what he said in the beginning of he lived a life of soldiering, and then he decided to go out west to expand his soul.
Mm.
I mean, I want to know what life was like as a soldier and what he meant by expanding his soul. I mean, we could say from a spiritual perspective, he certainly has worked on expanding his soul if he's lived in this shadow of humility.
Yes.
Right. And then to live at the end, have this act of self-sacrifice, leave it all behind for his friend and just close the chapter on that life. He didn't need him. I showed he didn't really need Virgil Cole. He could have made it. He's his own man. He's a man that was Gandalf said about Aragorn. He's a man who could take his own counsel and rode off into the sunset to find what was next for him. But this idea of like, I'm doing this whole thing to expand my soul, I thought that was an interesting sort of nuance.
Well, I also think that, you and I have both been number twos for years. Yeah. And there's this great scene in The West Wing where the president is talking to the deputy chief of staff. And he has this line where he's like, you get to decide who you want to be. Do you want to be the man, or do you want to be the man that the man counts on?
Yeah.
And the whole point of what he was saying is like, my chief of staff is the one I count on. I'm the man, but I count on the chief of staff. And I know without a shred of doubt, like, I'm nothing without the chief of staff. And
is that enough for you?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Like, is that the road you want to take?
Right. Because the reality is, even the man answers to someone.
Yeah.
So no one answers to no one. So becoming complacent as a servant, I mean, this starts to lead into my other characters too, but like that, like to be not complacent, that's not the word, but satisfied.
At peace.
At peace with, what God gives you in life and the role that he's asking you to take on, and not pursuing something grander for the wrong reasons, for ego. Like, that's what I think Everett embodies. I love it.
And that's so important too. Like, I think about the opening song with Moana, like, be happy where you are. And that the father wanted the life that Moana eventually had, the life of adventure and sailing and being a hero. And he had to be disciplined into the role that he was given, right? Like, there's something really powerful about that. When, as a man, to be like, to conform yourself to a standard.
It's a complete renunciation.
Yes.
Like, it is. I mean, becoming a husband and becoming a father, like, you are taking all of your power and harnessing it into a very particular, unique place. And you are choosing to commit to this woman and this family. And it is, and you find freedom in doing that, right? Like, freedom is the ability to do what you should do, what you ought to do. It's not whatever you want to do. That's license, right? So like there's actual freedom in choosing to commit and go in a particular direction.
Yes. All right. Should we go to the next one? Yeah, paradoxical.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's go to the next one. Let's stay on the theme of action. So I'll do Maximus from Gladiator. And it's very simple for me. Strength and honor.
Mm-hmm.
The code of strength and honor of Maximus. Like, I live by this code. I have this moral code of being. I try to live up to this code of strength and honor. Like, it is not like I am subservient to the code. I am subservient to the rule of law. I surrender my will to this law, and I am willing to die to honor it.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't stop until I've accomplished the mission that I need to accomplish in order to fulfill the code that I've been given. Now, we can argue about the value of his particular code, resulting in vengeance.
Yeah, that's the big criticism against Maximus, is like, if you take his likability and aesthetic away, like, he's driven by revenge.
Yes. he murders someone out of revenge.
Yes.
Yes. Even
Now,
if
what is it justice? Like there are people that argue that it's justice and not vengeance. But
sure. But
he even says, "I'll have my vengeance in this life or the next."
Yes, like
he calls it that.
He calls it vengeance. It is straight up vengeance. It's not I'm going to expose this man for who he is and let the rule of law. It's like I am taking the law into my own hands and exacting an eye for an eye vengeance. Like you took my wife and children, I take your life and your throne and all your power. I take all of it.
Yeah. Well, you could argue though that like he can't trust the law because the person who defines the law is the person he's taking vengeance against, right? Like he has no other option. He can't use any sort of legal system or law for justice. Like he has to take justice into his own hands.
Right.
From a man who's committing atrocities of injustice.
And he, you know, they elevate it to something beyond vengeance. They elevate it to the level of he's retaking Rome for its vision. Like there once was a vision that was Rome. And Marcus Aurelius had this vision, and I'm going to reestablish it. But he's bloodthirsty, right? Like he's straight up bloodthirsty, and he ends up doing something really cool in the end, but bloodthirsty.
That's my other pushback. I'm glad you brought it up. The idea of Rome, like that never, like even before I was living a Catholic lifestyle, like when I was just a young man and I first saw that, I'm like it's not an ideal that I could identify with or that I would strive for. Like it didn't move me emotionally, the concept of the dream of Rome. Like now as a Catholic, even more so, I'm like, what are you trying to replace like the heavenly reality here? Like, what do you mean? What is Rome? But even just like before that, it was like, I don't the dream of Rome never moved me.
Well, it would have been a lot more moving had he not been dying and he refused power. It would have been like what George Washington did on steroids, right? Sure. He could have overtaken it and become emperor and had all the power in the world and have people assume that he's a god, right? And it would have meant
and gave it to the Senate or something,
and given all power back to the Senate. Like that certainly would have, you know, like you gave your life for that. But for me, there's like when I look at,
but did the film articulate that this is really about democracy, that Rome is about democracy? I don't think the film did a good job of that.
Well, they allude to him bringing about the vision. So like at the beginning of the movie, Marcus Aurelius was like, I'm giving you the throne. And this was my dream. And I think you're the only one who can establish it.
That's right.
He articulate, and so he is like honoring the legacy of Marcus Aurelius and fulfilling his dying wish.
Marcus Aurelius wanting to turn Rome into a republic and not have
Right. And not giving it to his son.
By the way, Marcus Aurelius has a lot of nerve. I saw that movie again recently. And it's like, first of all, convenient. Now that you're dying,
right?
You want to be a republic.
Right.
Secondly, what a terrible father. Like Commodus, I kind of get it, bro. Like your father was awful to you.
Yes, and him not knowing what to do with it, not knowing what to do with, you know, with that moment of his dad turning his back on him and all that stuff. But it's strength and honor. Like when I look at religious orders, why are there religious orders? Why are most saints come from religious orders? And one of the things is that religious orders have people who actually go and advocate for people to become saints and things like that. But one of the reasons why it feels like it's a straighter and more direct line to holiness is because you submit your entire life to a rule of living. You submit your entire life to a moral code. And you live by that code, and you have accountability to live by that code. You have superiors, you have spiritual director, you have brothers or sisters in your community who are having your back and who are tied to a degree of fraternal correction. Like you are. There's a real strength in that. And at the time that I watched it, I was like this agnostic trying to become a better person. And I watched this film and I'm like, yeah, I need a moral code. Like I
Yeah,
need a code to live by, you know?
for sure. Yeah, and Maximus himself, I mean, he's badass. I mean,
Yeah. What?
I mean, he's awesome. Like the idea of strength and honor definitely like hits me right in my chest. You
Yes.
know, like there's like a call, it's a call that responds to something within me, strength and honor. So like, I totally get Maximus as a character being appealing as a man.
Yes. Okay, what one do you want to go to? What's your next one?
I think probably let's shift to actually I'm build off the theme that I was talking before about Everett. Let's talk about Faramir of Gondor
Yes.
From Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar in a way, and I didn't realize how similar it was until I started thinking about why I like these characters. But it's in the spirit of Francis of Assisi.
Mm.
I am not Jesus. I am the herald of the great king. That is Faramir. He is a steward, and then you compare him to like his father, for example, Denethor, who was charged with being a steward to the throne of Gondor, the latest in a long line of stewards, and ultimately couldn't relinquish that power when it came time for it. It was he became drunk with power and was seduced by the ring and the draw for power. And his son was on the path to that too, his Faramir's brother Boromir. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Boromir's justification for trying to take the ring was, I only wish for the strength to defend my people. And that's how the desire for power like begins oftentimes, right? But then sooner or later, once you have the power, it's very easy to use it for yourself, right? And what Faramir represents to me is someone who knows his role as a steward of the king, who is Aragorn, never desires to be a king, like honors the king, and is very, very, again, peaceful with his place, just like Everett Hitch. Same kind of reality there. And he's a man of honor. He's a Numenorian. He's called a wizard's pupil, so he's not pure warrior. He has insight, and he's subtle in his interpretations and wisdom. So he's very integrated. He's not a Neanderthal. He's not a brawny brute kind of barbarian character. Like he has both. He has the strength in arms, but he also has um, the intellectual ability, the insight, the wisdom, the depth, the personal depth, all wrapped into one in a position of service. So, I mean, I love Faramir, and I think he gets honored and rewarded for that loyalty later on in the story. Number one, with love, and he turns the heart of a woman who also pursued power or pursued not being adversely affected by ideas of power. That's a better way to frame it. And then
Does he get with Eowyn? Is that
he
who
gets
he
with
ends up
Eowyn.
being?
Yeah, he gets
Yes.
with Eowyn, right? Who wanted Aragorn for the wrong reasons, right? But he sort of melted her heart and helped her embrace her true femininity. And then he was given Ithilien by Aragorn to govern over and rule with Eowyn, which is like a land that they made beautiful. It's the Garden of Ithilien. It was once part of Gondor, and then it was marred by Sauron and the evil of that land. And then, you know, it's like, it's yours. And then he turned it into a beautiful land once again. It became like a province of Gondor, like a, you know, like a fief almost. So I just, again, the humility, knowing your role, but having like confidence and competency as a man. That's why I love Faramir.
There's so many great things about Faramir. The steady, consistent willingness to do the right thing when no one is watching.
Yep.
And when you're surrounded by so many temptations to like be hasty or grab at things or trying to push your way into something, like he just committed to the steady daily faithful acts of doing good things. And I think to me he is like the Saint Joseph of the Lord of the Rings, where he is like quiet and humble and kind of in the
Yeah.
background
Yeah.
and just steadily doing the right thing. He's not the greatest fighter in the world. He's not the greatest swordsman in the world. He's not the focal point at any point in time.
Yeah.
Um, but where other men of the past in Jewish tradition, um, when the ring was in front of them, grabbed at it, right? Like he closed the hand and was like, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to let this go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just so many great parallels of what it means to be a good husband and father. It's just the non-sexy daily faithful duties that nobody ever sees, and he sticks
Absolutely.
with it.
That's a great point. And I can't believe I didn't even think about the fact that he could have potentially taken the ring and didn't. Gandalf, in describing the power of the ring to Frodo early in the book, has said he doesn't know that of anyone that has willingly given it up, who's been in possession of it, except for Bilbo, and he needed a lot of help in order to do it. And so, like, there are actually very few characters who are given the ring, had the opportunity to take the ring, and chose not to. Gandalf obviously was like in the context of it at any point, but he would have to, basically harm. He talked about he'd have to harm Bilbo to take it from him forcefully, or take it from Frodo. And then Galadriel, it's freely offered to her. In the movies, I think Frodo offers it to Aragorn, but I don't think that happened in the book. It's been a while since I've read that scene, but Faramir's the other one. That's a pretty short list of people who resisted the power of the ring when the entire entirety of Middle Earth wanted it, and he didn't even really know what it was. He didn't have the context to know how dangerous it was, but he had this intuitive sense that there's something evil about him taking it. You compare that to his brother Boromir, who's like, we should use it. Let's use the ring, right? And he just has this insight that Boromir never had.
Yeah, and he also breaks a rule, right? Like he also lets them go, right? He breaks a rule
And
in order
faces
to
his
do
father's justice.
yes, and does the right thing. He does the right thing on both ends, right? Like he does the right thing and then owns it and is like, I'll take it. Whatever it is that is my punishment, I will take it.
For sure.
I will willingly ride to my death here. Okay, let's go to what I probably think is the one you hate from me, which is Sean Maguire from Good Will Hunting. I don't even know that you're going to hate it.
No. I love Sean Maguire. The one I'm the most resistant to was Maximus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we got through the rough spot already.
We got through the rough spot. Oh, Mike. So my explanation was like it tempered your passions.
No, I still hold my position. It's a revenge story.
It is. With strength and honor, I'll never be able to get over that. I'll never be able to be like,
awesome.
Not hear that at the beginning of the movie, strength and honor, and be like, yeah, strength and honor.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So Sean Maguire, Good Will Hunting. There's like a lot of really good things about Sean Maguire that throughout the movie that are like famous parts. But for me, like when you ask somebody 8, 9, 10 years old, like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like nobody has to ask my oldest. My oldest is just telling people all the time, like, when I'm all grown up, I'm going to fly airplanes. Like he just tells everybody this all the time. And like he has this even at 5, like he knows the planes he's going to fly in the order he's going to fly them and the cars he's going to own. Like he's really, I mean, he's 5, but he's committed to these things and he has a vision for it, Yeah. Like at no point in my life has it been like, oh, I have a vision for the exact thing that I'm going to do when I'm going to do it. The only thing I ever wanted to do was be like really in love and a father. Like those are the 2 things I've just always wanted. And people would ask me like, what do you want? I want to be a husband and father. Like, I don't know, like I'll figure out the work thing, but like I've never necessarily been ultra committed to a particular job, which has been great. Like I've changed fields 3 times and I'm 34, like there's been great flexibility and I feel confident I'm in the space I'm going to be in for a long time now. But there was no vision there. And when Sean talked about like his love and devotion for his wife,
Mm.
and showing up, and there being like, again, this is a theme for me, but like visiting hours don't apply to you, right? There being a level of strength, a level of defiance, but most importantly, a commitment to love that is so compelling and so meaningful that it inspires people around you to like look the other way for the right thing. Like people seeing how committed and how adoring and how loving he is.
Yeah.
That there would be certain allowances due to that degree of love. And he's like, you've never loved anybody. I doubt you've ever dared to love anybody that much.
Yeah.
And I was like, man,
it is a risk.
I want to dare to love. Yeah, I want to dare
Yeah.
to love. And I was talking to somebody, one of the people that I walk with, and it was one of these things where it's just like, well, I'm afraid to get hurt. I don't know if I'm going to be like, I haven't started dating again because I'm afraid to get hurt. And the person really wanting me to be like, oh no, it's okay, you won't get hurt. And me being like, no. Like chances are you'll probably get hurt. But you've got to decide whether or not it's worth it.
Yeah.
And that was the whole speech. And he's like, he's by the ducks and they're at the lake and they're talking, and he's like, you got to decide if it's worth it. Is love worth it? Is you breaking out of the habit that the self-destructive habit that you're in, like you doing the work to bring that about, is it worth it to you? Is it worth the risk? Are you willing to dare to do that? And just watching that film and being like, man, I want to dare to commit my life to loving someone as much as he idealistically described.
Sure. Yeah. And he didn't regret any of his choices.
None. To not the scene with him not going to the Fisk game, the game 6 walk-off home run, and him being like, nah, slid the ticket over and said, gotta go see about a girl. Like,
right.
Why would I regret that? And Matt Damon just being like, what? Right. Like, how the game was way more important. And he's like, no way.
Well, that's the parallel. What's the parallel process too? So that's Matt Damon's character. And then you had the colleague who was saying the same thing to him.
Yes.
Wasted talent. Sorry, you're not happy with how your life turned out.
Yes.
Because yes, you're smarter than me. You could have been so much more, and you chose a different life, and that wasn't Sean's perspective.
Yeah, like F you arrogant prick. You know.
Yeah.
I'm happy with my choices, but and then the other part with Sean Maguire is like his willingness to try again. So his evolution in his experience of Will Hunting was like, well, shit, I've got to practice what I preach.
Yeah.
And I've got to go write and travel and find my way back into love again.
Yeah.
And I just like, I admire that so much when Will Hunting is saying to him, yeah, like you lost a big hand, but you haven't had the guts to ante up again. And he was right.
What a process comment.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But like they're having the same thing take place, and it's like, well, yeah, parallel process. But like him actually choosing to do it is just. I remember one more thing, and then obviously I want to hear your thoughts. I remember my mom. I remember my mom calling me when like my grandma was. You could tell this was a turn. Like you weren't going to come back from this turn.
Yeah.
It's like it may be 2 months, it may be 2 years, but like we will mark this as the beginning of the end. Yeah. And my mom being like, it's really hard. And me just being like, it'll hurt more and you'll cry more than anyone else at her funeral. But like you'll never, no one will ever be able to touch the memories that you'll make from now until she dies, and the connection that the two of you will have. And like, I think you're made for that. And my mom did it. And there were a lot of other people in my grandmother's life who like walked away, and they're way worse for it.
Oh yeah.
And there's this thing about like us doing the hard thing and doing the hard thing for the right reasons, not because we're compelled, not because we're forced, not because we're masochistic, but doing the right thing, even though it's hard, and being like, it's worth it just because it's the right thing. Like doing the hard thing out of love, it knocks me out, man. It just inspires me so much.
Yeah, and I think only love fuels us to be able to do that. I think what you're talking about with your mom is that she rushed towards someone who is suffering, and other people walk away from someone who's suffering. But like, that's not true in the abstract. You know, she rushed towards a person whom she loved very, very deeply.
Yes.
And nothing's going to inspire us to do difficult things more than loving someone. Like we talk about different motivators in behavior. Like fear is a strong one, but it's not actually as strong and lasting as love. Right? It doesn't entail long suffering. Like fear can kind of come and go, and then you might revert back to old behaviors. But if you do it out of love, like that creates lasting change. It's the basis for the act of contrition. All right, I don't want to go to hell. I'm terrified, but
more so, yes.
Most of all, because I have offended thee, my God, because I love you. Like I'm contrite because I love you, not just because I'm scared you're gonna, send me downstairs. And this has to be it. This is that real integration of eros and agape, which a lot of Christians get wrong. They think it's like eros is erotic, desiring love, and then it evolves into agape, which is better Christian love. Like that's not how it works. It's all fused into one reality. It's like when you ask a girl out on a date for the first time. Like it begins with, I'm already suffering by putting myself out there for potentially being rejected and getting embarrassed. I'm already suffering for you, asking you out. You want to know the next time I'm suffering? When I pay for dinner.
Yeah.
My bank account just got smaller. I just lost the money. I am suffering. Do I feel that way? No. Because I'm so moved by my love for you in both of these cases that like the suffering, of course, is worth it. And on and on and on for the rest of your life, and with your children, and waking up and changing their diapers at 4 a.m, or being there for a friend. Like it's that empathy and seeing someone else. That's what fuels us to do the most difficult things, I think.
Yeah. St. John Paul II, in his encyclical on suffering, he spends a lot of time talking about the Good Samaritan, and that one of the reasons why Jesus tells this parable is he's like, part of the why of suffering. It's not the fullness of suffering, and we'll never know the fullness of suffering this side of heaven. But part of the why is suffering is that it's meant to draw out love. Like if you are an integrated being, you're going to see suffering, and suffering is going to draw out love from you. And you're going to be willing to be sacrificial in a generous way in response to love.
Or from others for you.
Or from, yes, and the reverse is true as well. Yeah. And I think in a culture that is like not getting married and not having kids, I will listen to people. I'm not necessarily talking about people I walk with in a professional context, but just like youth group kids that are now in their early 20s, and they're like, man, got so much on my plate. I'm doing so much. I'm really stressed out about this, that, or the other thing. I'm really anxious about this or really anxious about that. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But more importantly, you have no idea your own capacity.
Sure.
That love will draw out from you. Like if you think this is hard, wait until you've got to perform well at work on 3 months of 3 to 5 hours of sleep interrupted.
Yeah.
When people are counting on you, including the people in your house, to provide well for you. And like it never ends. There's always dishes to be cleaned. There's always things to be vacuumed. There's always problems to solve. And you just have to stay steady the whole time.
Not only do you not see any light at the end of the tunnel, but they keep building the back end of the tunnel further and further away from where you are.
Yeah. It's like you have no idea what you're capable of. Like love can draw out so much more from you than you think you can handle.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
Sean Maguire at the beginning of his marriage vows, was he capable of walking with his wife through cancer? Probably not. But by the time he was called to do that, it's like, yeah, hell yeah, he had the capacity for it.
Yeah.
And love had drawn that out of him.
Yeah, for sure. You know, can I switch gears a little bit on Sean?
Yeah,
Do you
go.
mind? So I am actually inspired and surprised by what about Sean Maguire that you highlighted. So that's not my first thoughts about him, have really nothing to do with his love for his wife. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, now that you accompany people in a clinical context, like what you think about him clinically, like as a clinician. There's so many people that their idea of psychotherapy comes from that one scene that we all know, right? Where he's helping him go through his trouble.
Your fault. Like, it's not your fault.
Right. But like, I wonder when the last time you saw it is. And I wonder if, like, now that you've gone through this training through CPMAP and what you would think about him clinically.
Him clinically makes far more sense than like pure-blooded CBT, cognitive behavioral therapists, where it's like, this is mindset shifts. This is like, we've got to talk about the mind and the brain and the way you see things and the way you think about things. And it's like, you have to keep a distance from your client. Like, your emotions are in check, and your person is not really involved in this space. Like, you are staying at a certain level. And there's like this, like, what the therapist actually thinks, what the therapist is actually feeling, what the therapist's own story, being separate from the clinical experience.
Yeah.
And then watching Sean Maguire, and so much of the trust building and rapport building is built on self-disclosure.
Yes.
And self-disclosure for the sake of the client, not for Will Hunting to take care of Sean Maguire. Right? Yeah. It's self-disclosure at its best. It's, he was broken in relationship, and then in relationship with Sean, he is healed. And I think that plays out beautifully in the context of the film. And I mean, it's really heavy because it's dialogue, so it's really heavy on self-disclosure. Like, you don't really get into it. But the best for me is his ability to hold space, like his ability to be patient. Like, he saw from the word jump, like reading his file, where Will Hunting needed to go. Like, he was obviously a brilliant man and a brilliant clinician, and he waited. And waited and waited and waited and waited. And then his timing was just, I mean, he was just perfect.
Yeah.
And he was just there to hold space. And I loved it. I loved all of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the material I watched, a lot of the material I experienced in CPMAP, I tried to frame in the context of Sean Maguire.
That's
like,
awesome.
How do I understand this? Yeah. Okay. Let's turn to yours.
Sure.
You've got two left. Which one do you want to go with?
Yeah, I think we'll probably do this quickly. This one quickly. James J. Braddock will do next, I guess, because I think our final two will I think align, actually, in some ways. Yeah, not that much to say. Like, I think there's a lot of imagery that I found moving. I think there's something for men about boxing films.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the film was self-aware enough to even articulate his motivation to box once again. This is Cinderella Man, James J. Braddock, for our listeners. When his family is hit by the Great Depression, a lot of it's like very obvious, like things that we've already talked about, like a moral man willing to do the most difficult things. There's themes of providing for a family, which is very important in the male psyche. He's a man of integrity. You know, he humbles himself to do what he needs to do to provide.
He asks for money.
he humiliates himself and asks for money. He pays the money back that the government gives him,
Yeah.
right? When he starts fighting again. So there's all that. There's all the self-sacrifice for the family, and that's beautiful, the morality. But the point that I was making a moment ago is there's twice he talks about why he's fighting. And the more famous line is when he's in front of the reporters. They're saying, "Why are you winning again?" He said, "I know what I'm fighting for." And they say, "Well, what are you fighting for this time?" And he says, "Milk." Right? So the point of that is he is, again, to this point of being moved by love to do difficult things. He's fighting for milk that's inspiring him to win out of love for his family, out of providing for his family. But there's another time he mentions about why he wants to fight, and that's to his wife.
My favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah. And I might butcher the line here, but it's something to the effect of like, when I'm in the boxing ring, I know what I'm fighting against. Something to that effect. Like I know what it is. Like the Great Depression, paying bills, finding a job, like all that stuff is like nebulous and not concrete. Whereas like in the boxing ring, I know what my foe is. I know what my task is. I'm willing to get hurt. I love that line where he's talking to the reporter about Max Bayer, who's killed someone before. And he's like, "We try to tell me that boxing is dangerous or something?" Like, I don't know that. But like he knows it, and it's like there's something that about the corporeal nature of the villain, of the bout, of the tension, of the conflict. It's like he's in a boxing ring. It's physical. It's using your fists, and it's like big sweeping kind of like artistic expression of masculinity for me.
One of the really cool things for me about this film is in Sports Illustrated for Kids, which is what I was reading when it was right before it came out.
Yeah.
There was a huge like 5-page article on James J. Braddock. And now that I know like PR and stuff, it's a placement article and, to build up people excited for the film.
Sure.
But what blew me away was like all that stuff was true. It's not artistic building up of the legend of James J. Braddock. Like he literally paid all of the welfare money back to the government.
Yeah.
Like his first step was to pay off all his debts. And he didn't consider it a handout. He considered it a temporary loan until he got back up on his feet. Yeah. And like the level of integrity and selflessness, because nobody was going to come to him for that money. And everybody would have understood him being like, I don't know how long I'm going to fight. I'm going to put this money in a bank, or I'm going to buy my family like a decent house and whatever.
Especially after being traumatized by having nothing.
And his kid's almost, dying.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so cold and they can't heat the place. My favorite scene, a scene I think about all the time, and I want your take on this, like as a father with a daughter, is my second favorite scene. My favorite scene is the scene with the wife. My second favorite scene is early on in the film. Mm-hmm. He wakes up and his daughter finishes whatever like ham circle that they fried up in the grease from like yesterday's ham.
Yeah.
And she eats it and she's like, "Mommy, I'm still hungry." She's like 6 years old. And he says to his daughter, "Here, have mine." And you hear the wife go, "Jimmy." And he's like, I had this dream and I'm stuffed from this dream. And he talked all about it, like all the things that he ate in his dream. And he's like, "So I'm stuffed. Like, you got to eat mine for me." And she does. And then he goes off to try to get work. And it's like, you don't need to eat, like you actually, up to a certain point, obviously you need to eat, but like you don't actually experience real hunger pangs until like 7 or 8 days without eating. But there's something about like everybody, dad goes without before anybody else goes without. Yeah. It doesn't mean dad doesn't get taken care of or that dad shouldn't have his needs met, certainly from time to time. But like when things are in proper order and place, in normal circumstances, if someone has to go without, dad goes without.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that choice for him in the film was easy. I think that was an easy choice. I don't think that was a challenging choice. It was he's so moved with empathy for his daughter that
Yes.
he didn't have to decide should I give this to her or not. It was
No.
simple.
No. That's like a hard fought worldview, right? There's
Mm.
like a hard fought worldview for him where he was like, these are my kids, and I'm going to do everything in my power to take care of them, even go and humiliate myself and ask for money from people that I never want to ask for money from. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I love to him now that you bring up him as a father. Think about him with his two boys, and the one kid steals,
yes,
and he brings him back to return the bread and says, "We don't steal." Right? There's that. But then, like when he's going off to box, and he shakes his older son's hand, and then the younger one he gives a hug. Or I think he gives the younger one a hug first, and then he
yes,
shakes his older son's hand, and then the younger son holds his hand out to shake his father's hand too. It's like, actually, I want to be respected by you, and I want to be seen as like mature. And he shakes his hand. It's like the honoring between men, the respect that he extends to his son. I love that.
oh,
Sorry, you're
it
breaking up a
stopped
little bit.
recording twice, but we're back.
Okay, cool.
We are back. Um, so what you can you say that part again for me when he so he hugs his son, and then his older son gives him his hand, right?
Yes. Yeah, his older son gives him his hand, and then his second oldest, his younger son, also puts out his hand to get a handshake from his father. And there's this like a it's the inheritance, right? It's the inheritance of masculinity extended to his younger son, who is now worthy of it. It's like that respect exchange between father and son. It's like the ultimate affirmation to shift from like I'm hugging my little boy to like I'm shaking his hand with
Yeah.
respect. I just love that.
Yes. I also love that again with the bully, like he never gave in. Like Max Bear taunting him and
Yeah.
him not giving in. And then taking care of business when he needed to take care of business. Um
Right.
all
It's
right.
very Doc Holliday.
Very Doc Holliday. You know what resonates with me, right? Like it's obvious what resonates with me. And with you too. It's what's really cool is that there's a lot of um this is your first leading man, but he leads very, very quietly. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, my last one is Bagger Vance from The Legend of Bagger Vance. Now you hadn't seen the film up to this point. I think that you wanted to see the film. What did you think of the film?
Uh yeah, I thought that him as a character was a very interesting character. There's plenty to reflect on. I think the film as a whole, like I think there's could have been a little bit more character development in certain aspects. But I think he's worth talking about for sure.
I love this movie. It's one of my favorite films. There's a bunch of scenes I really like about it. There's a sign I there's a line from Bagger Vance that really um uh that really lands with me and sticks with me. It's one I say all the time to my kids. And he's it's when he first enters Bagger Vance, and he comes in, and the main character is a former golfer trying to become a golfer again. And it's in the middle of the night, and um he's just hitting golf balls all over the place. And Bagger Vance is just walking directly in front of him.
Hmm.
And he's basically like uses humor, and he's like, well, walked right in front of you because judging by the way you were hitting the ball, that was the safest place for me to be. And but he says this line where he's like, um, I'm out for a walk, just taking in some of God's glories.
Mm.
looking for a place to rest.
Yeah.
And like in the morning in particular, or when we're outside, my kids will look at me if I'm like looking up at the sky, and they'll be like, "What are you doing, Dad?" I'm like, taking in some of God's glory.
Mm.
And there's just like there's an aspirational air for me about Bagger Vance, where he epitomizes one of the most relatable expressions of trustful surrender to divine providence. Like he is at peace and in a state of praise, whether they're winning the game or losing the game.
Mm.
And he is consistent the entire time. And there's just like this. For a long time in my life, like I wasn't consistent. I was hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. And there's actually something about Katie, and having met Katie and started dating her and then marrying her and being with her, that like when I say that to her, it's completely foreign to her. She's like, I don't understand that. And it's like, well, loving you has brought that out of me.
Yeah.
And I've just always had this aspiration to be steady and to be present. But like, what does steadiness look like? Well, it looks like Bagger Vance. Like
Yeah.
I am rejoicing in all circumstances, and I'm at peace knowing that there is a God in control, and I am not him, and he is in control. And that's what I love about him. It's not carefree Hakuna Matata peace.
No.
It is very much like I know what's true and what's not true. I know what's real and what's not real. I know what's important and what's not important, and I know who's in charge and who's not in charge.
Yeah.
And there's just a real strength to him that really puts him, like everybody else is playing in human drama, and he the entire film is playing
Just with a smile.
the divine drama
Just has it like a gentle, peaceful smile the entire time.
the entire time.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, I think he's interesting too, because I think the character is a fusion of Eastern and Western views, right? So like you look at it through a Catholic lens, you're like, oh, he's an angel, or like, wait, is he God? Like you have like a sense of his personhood, right? Like, but also, I mean, he essentially teaches Matt Damon's character mindfulness, Catholic mindfulness, when he talks about seeing the field, like getting him into his flow state, getting out of your own head, finding your stroke, your authentic stroke. I think about internal family systems and like the self and the uniqueness of you. And there's only one you out there. There's only one stroke that you have that's you, and it's not. You're not blended with parts, pulling or pushing in either direction. It's like being in the moment, being in the present moment. And we talk about that in the proper context, like Catholic mindfulness. I mean, we even prayed before this, ever present God, here with me now, help me to be here with you. Right. But he is kind of like that integration of East meets West. And I did a little research on it in terms of
I've read the book.
Do you know where the character is? What is the character is loosely based on?
Yes, but it's been so long since I've looked at it. You'll be able to give more detail. But yes.
Yeah, it's about Arjuna and Krishna. It's like a Hindu,
like the Hindu gods, right?
Famous. Well, Arjuna is a warrior. Krishna is the god. It's a famous story about a famous parable about how Arjuna is tired of the battle, tired of war, which you can see Matt Damon is literally tired of the battle and war, right? And Krishna helps him see like this is the way of spiritual growth. You can't jump ahead to the absolute. You have to evolve toward it, and everything is an opportunity for spiritual growth. And it like rejuvenates Arjuna and helps him to like get back on the golf course, and like experience life again and fight the battle. When he sees essentially he discovers meaning in suffering, which is a very Christian, Catholic, and psychological way to think about suffering, right? It's discover, like it fuels you to move on. This is not unrelated to what we were saying about loving your kids and waking up at 3 a.m. to change their diaper. So it's like finding it's like the backdrop. It's loosely based on this idea of like finding meaning in suffering and finding the spiritual value of continuing to fight the battle in your life.
The movie for me is significantly better than the book, because the book really makes that more more emphatic.
Oh,
And
really?
there's like a whole opening up of heaven and earth before Matt Damon's character.
Oh.
Um, and there's and it goes heavy Eastern in that context. This
Hmm.
one, um, like Bagger is, you're not really sure what he is in
Right.
terms of being a human being or not.
Yes.
Um, it ends up feeling a lot more like an angel than a god or a reincarnation or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, the movie, and then the scene where it's like it's time to lay it down, time to let it go. Like you've been carrying this one for too long. Like
Yeah.
I've actually
Yeah.
used that. Like it's time to lay it down.
Yeah.
You know, you've been carrying this in this way for long enough. It's time to lay it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's awesome. Great movie.
yeah, enjoyed it. I what I really liked was the interplay between Matt Damon's character and Charlize Theron as well. Like just great male female dynamics. Like she was excellent in that film. Really, really good.
Yeah. She's a fantastic actress. Very compelling.
Yeah.
Would steal the scene in whatever scene she's
Every
in.
scene. Every scene she owned it. All right, your last one.
But not dissimilar to Bagger Vance. So I chose something from Lord of the Rings. I didn't know how weird to get with this. I mean, I chose Appaloosa. Yeah. I didn't want to pick 4 characters where people had to go out and watch something new, you know. So I had to go with Star Wars as my other context for a character.
Wait, before you get into that, what would have been an obscure one of a character that you're like, man, I love this one, but I can't
Oh,
because it's
geez.
really obscure.
Oh, you put me on the spot. I didn't allow myself to dream.
Okay. All right.
I didn't allow myself to dream.
If one comes to you and you're like subconscious and it pops up.
Well, I'm aware of this because I used to have that podcast and I would have guests choose movies. And sometimes
Yes.
the movies that they would choose, like none of the viewers had ever seen that movie before. It's like French cinema, you know. It's like so I'm just aware of that. So I wanted to at least pick something where people that would be familiar to people. So it would be Star Wars. I did not choose Obi-Wan Kenobi for some of the reasons we already mentioned. He's a bit too vanilla, right? It's like I do love that character very deeply, but he always did the right thing. But for psychological reasons, I went with Yoda.
Yoda.
Yes, Yoda, which seems like a little on the nose, but the thing
Yes,
about
master.
Yoda, the thing about Yoda for me was, I mean, when I watched Star Wars as a child, this was maybe 35 years before the Battle of Yavin, right? I was deeply surprised by Yoda, and that character opened my mind to spirituality and transcendence at a very, very young age. So in my home, like I had never seen Episode 4, A New Hope. We had The Empire Strikes Back on VHS video that my mom had recorded from TV. So I saw that film over and over and over again. Imagine being trapped in the end of that film, which ended on a downer with Han Solo and Carbonite. And I had never seen Return of the Jedi. And I kept watching that same film over and over again. But that's the scene where Yoda is introduced, and just going on the journey with Luke to experience a Jedi master. And you have just with Luke, because he's the point of view character, like, I'm going to find a Jedi master, this all powerful teacher who's gonna show me how to become a Jedi. And then he finds this weird little creature in the swamp whose lesson is like, size matters not. Judge me by my size, do you? Well, you should not. The Force is my ally. So just this idea that like power comes from a depth of wisdom. I mean, I'm getting older. My competency in almost every area of my life is declining. What's one thing that I could hold to in terms of development in my masculinity? And that's wisdom, the acquisition of wisdom. Yoda is the perfect wisdom character. It's his competency comes through depth, being there for a younger generation, um, taking accumulated knowledge over experience and drawing wisdom and deeper truths from it, and just like subverting all your expectations for what real power and authority is in humility, hiding and leading with humility, very similar to Everett for my first character. It's all about that humility and the development of wisdom for me with Yoda.
I think that he is unjustly unjustly boiled down to, or his wisdom is unjustly boiled down to, there is no try, only do.
Oh yeah.
And like what you talk about in terms of the choice being to make the smallest character the most powerful one.
Oh yeah.
Is like really powerful and really meaningful. And it's like there's this line in Ratatouille where the whole movie, the main critic in the food critic in the film hates like this cooking legend who said everyone can cook. And then he realized at the end, he's like, well, I think what he meant was not that everyone can be a great cook, but that a great cook can come from anywhere. And it's like, that's almost it. Yoda is more it, which is that God makes manifest his power in the available. And there's literally no other qualification, not size, not even age. Like there's not really other qualifications other than like how available are you truly to grace?
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much wisdom in that character. And it is tragic in a way that it gets boiled down to do or do not. There is no try. We can even unpack that statement. I mean, the original films were a blend of like Eastern mysticism and monotheism. Now they've evolved from that, but the original films, there was some monotheism in there. But another line that I love by him is when Luke is telling him like, I'm looking for Master Yoda. He's a great warrior. And Yoda kind of laughs and he's like, wars don't make someone great. Like subverting expectations.
Yes.
Like Luke and his expectations, especially for me as a young boy, when, pound for pound, you have more testosterone in your body than any other time in your life. And everything's about competition and strength and speed and fighting other kids on the playground. And it's like the great warrior. And Yoda's like, that's not what makes you great. Being a warrior. That just like, it just changed my it just challenged the way I looked at the world and looked at power once upon a time. So, and it was an amazing experience when I was just a little boy.
That's awesome. I think since it's come up a few times on the differences between East and West and how we understand East and West spirituality, have you ever seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Love that film. That would be, I would actually pick Li Mubai potentially as a character.
So that's where I was going, because Li Mubai is Eastern, grappling with Christian truth, like Western Christian truth.
Yeah.
And he's like, the whole movie, he's like, really struggling with like the rigidity and the limitations. Like he wants to make of himself a self-gift, and he surpasses self-mastery. And he's like, wait a minute, is there something beyond self-mastery? And the whole movie, he's like grappling with this crazy concept that's evolved into his head that he can make of his life a self-gift, and wrestling with that. So maybe one time we'll talk about self-gift and self-mastery through the lens of Li Mubai, the great Li Mubai.
Yeah, I'd love to. He's a great character.
All right. Anything else you want to share with us? You want to have a Yoda moment for us?
That was bonus content right there. No one expected the 9th character profile.
Well, Li Mubai would have been on my list. Like if I was like obscure movies I'm not sure that many people have seen, like Li Mubai would have been on that potential list.
What's funny is it like during like new people have no idea what that film is. By new people, I mean young people. Like,
Right, right.
but growing up, that was I think it won Best Picture. It was a very popular film.
Yeah, I
But
think it won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Yeah,
yeah, but not a. I mean, it's obscure now. That's so funny. It's so
it
funny as you get
is.
older.
It is. I don't even think Katie's ever heard of it.
Well, you got to sit her down.
Zero chance. Zero chance Katie is going to sit down and do that.
I was watching. By the way, I was watching Andor the other day, and my wife Teresa was watching it with me. And at the end of it, she goes, "So, the Death Star destroys planets?" And I was like, "Would you like to watch Star Wars with me sometime?" Yes, the Death Star destroys planets, Teresa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, I'm going to do one more for you. Katsumoto.
From what?
Ah, it was like a test, like Katsumoto, like how far does our film passions align?
I know the name sounds very familiar. Tell me the film, and I'll
Last
probably.
Samurai.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
He's not my favorite, but he is like he's
That's
another one. Yeah.
Cruise's character, or
No,
his friend?
Cruz's character is Nathan
Yes. Oh,
Aldrin.
yeah.
My favorite. I'll butcher his name. It's Katsumoto's right hand man, the one who beats the living daylights out of Tom Cruise when he first tries to fight.
Yes. Yes. He's a great character too.
Yeah. So many other options. All right. Well, thanks, Dr. Bryan. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, everybody. This has been another edition of the Rise to the Occasion podcast. As always, want to give thanks to our friends at FIO for making this possible. If you want to learn more about Dr. Bryan and all of his work, you can go to CatholicPsych.com. He has a bunch of old episodes of his own podcast. That was awesome. I was on one of them, the Catholic Sinner Show. So if you want to go back into the archives, it was a great show.
I'll resurrect it if I get 10,000 subs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of incentive. Yeah, you bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can check out him at CatholicPsych.com, doing a lot of cool stuff there. But until next time, God bless you all, and always remember that you were made to do hard things.